and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos. The Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please like, support, share, or do whatever you can to help us out here at the Lakers Fast Break. And also, the best place to go for 2021 NBA Draft news and information and profiles. That's NBA Draft Junkies on YouTube, NBADraftJunkies.com. His great podcast as well, Run the Floor and NBA Draft Junkies. It is my good friend indeed. He is the man behind NBA Draft Junkies. It is Rafael Barlowe. And Rafael, we're going to talk some NBA free agency, some contract extensions, possibly even some Cade Cunningham as well.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a while.
Well, I thought,
a week
yes,
draft.
I thought I'd give you some time off to relax, but lo and behold, you're still doing videos. I told you to relax, get some sleep, get some rest, take some time off, because 5,000 videos as far as prep beforehand that you did in the. If you want to check it out, still, if you're a team out there, you're not sure who they got in the draft, you're not sure who, just about the guys that they picked up, best place to go is NBA Draft Junkies, because you will see time and time again some great profiles. And now you're up to your draft. I think you're up to your draft grades right now for both the Eastern and Western Conference.
So I finished the East, and I just have the West, and then I'll be done with that. I'm just ready to get 2020 over and start focusing on 21. I've already done all the stuff I do as far as like rebranding, as far as like updating the logos and changing the site over. So once I finish off the Western Conference grades, I'll be done.
Oh, that's awesome. But yes, you got to check out what he's doing today at NBA Draft Junkies and NBADraftJunkies.com, because 2021, it's knocking on the door. It's right around the corner. And in actually less than a year, it's going to be the NBA Draft once again. So we're looking forward to that. Actually, a lot quicker turnaround we're expecting this time around, not the extended stay that we had for 2020. Yes. Yep. So, my friend, there's a lot going on in the NBA because it was possibly probably the busiest 8 or 9 days in league history, I think, this past week, with the trades first off, then the draft, and then the free agency, and then the contract extensions that were laid out. My gosh, it was hard to keep up with it all.
You think so? Because, usually the draft is, it's not like 2-day difference, but usually the draft and free agency is within
a week,
about a few days. Yeah. And, before, like as soon as it hit midnight, you saw like 40 deals coming through. So at least this year we didn't.
They spaced it out. Those tampering rules.
Yeah.
I think, can we say Bogdanovich? Maybe that might have been the cause of it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. But even then, though, I remember, was it last year? 2019. I remember I was out of the country, and I was actually at one of these tournaments scouting. And I'm standing up to it's like first thing in the morning, and it's just Woj and Shams are just nonstop. I'm like, free agency is only 4 minutes long. How has everybody agreed to this?
They kind of waited, even though everything might have been set before, 3 p.m. Eastern. They kind of waited an hour, and then it started trickling out. And then 2-3 hours later, boom, 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 then you saw it. But all these deals for the most part were set up already. But the Monday beforehand, when the floodgates started opening on the trades, we saw Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder. We saw a lot of other trades go through. And then, at that time, the flurry of draft picks later in the first round. And then you see, again, later on this part of the week, you saw the contract extensions that were signed. Once things the dust kind of settled a little bit for the most part, you saw the contract extensions that were signed. So I want to hit first off with NBA free agency, my friend. I know that's something that you're keeping a close eye on because you, as a Portland Trailblazers fan, got to be excited. So I'm going to go ahead and start off, instead of starting off with the Lakers, because everybody's been talking about the Lakers, for good and for bad, mostly for good, talk about how they won free agency and whatnot. And I'll hear your thoughts on that in a sec. I want to go ahead as our guest and someone who I know loves the Portland Trailblazers as much as I love the Lakers. I want to go ahead and give you props for Portland. What are your thoughts on Portland's free agency period? I know you've been saying a lot on Twitter, but I want you to go ahead and tell everybody out there what your thoughts on the Blazers and how they, how they did in free agency.
I thought Portland did okay. I like the Robert Covington trade, even though I was hoping that they would draft Sadiq Bey. I had been campaigning for that for a month. But I like the Covington trade. Covington trade. As far as free agency, Hood coming back. He ended up coming back for more money. But having him back
coming off the Achilles injury.
Yep. So having him comes back helps, and then with Trent should be able to, just help out. He showed in the bubble that he's an NBA rotational player. So having those two wings helps. As far as I like the Harry Giles signing.
Yes, so do I.
I like that, and I just don't know how much he'll play.
Because he's got Enes Kanter there.
Yeah, Kanter. Then Zach Collins is still there. They brought Melo back. So, to me, the Blazers' free agency they got some pieces, but to me, the biggest thing is health, just overall health. They went to the conference finals the year before, and I think this team is actually better. And so, but it's just being healthy. I still would like to see them add another backup point guard. That would be what I would like to see them at. Maybe Evan Turner on a cheap deal. He's still available, and he was, he was on the team a couple years ago. So that would be my final thing. I wanted Saric. I wanted the Blazers to add like a 4 that can pass and make plays for others a little bit. James Johnson was another target that I wanted to see them make a trade for, but I think Harry Giles is the most underrated passing big in the league. So just good to see them add some ball movers, because Portland was like last in the league in assists last year, maybe like second to last, like 2 seasons prior. So just want to see them get some ball movers.
You got to root for a kid like Harry Giles, because he's had the 2 devastating knee injuries, and we weren't even sure if he was going to go ahead and be able to play to any extent with Sacramento. And to see him now in a position where he might get a chance at Portland, it would be nice. But again, you're right. It's a very stacked front court for Portland right now.
Yeah, Collins, I hope they don't think that starting him at the 4 is the answer this year. I know that was the plan last year.
Yeah.
So I hope that's not the case. But he could easily be the 3rd big. I don't think he's better than Kanter. He's better defensively.
I think you and I are better defensively.
Yeah. But if Collins becomes a good corner 3 shooter, then I think it helps him. But if he's not, then I just don't see how he can beat out Kanter for the backup center role.
With the Portland Trailblazers, I want to ask one thing. With all the additions, I thought they were pretty good, and obviously bringing Melo back as well. Defense is still going to be an issue for your team, and this is something I might get back to with the Lakers when it comes to them. What are your thoughts on as far as these additions helping your defense? Because I didn't see much in the way of doing that. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to score a lot of points.
Well, Covington helps a lot. He's a shot blocker. Even though he's a wing, he can play the 3 and 4. He'll be able to defend the other team's best wing. So that's something that they didn't have at all last year. We were relying on Gary Trent to guard LeBron. So also having wing depth is also going to be key. Defensively, I don't know if they're going to be a lot better, but it's impossible to be a good defensive team in the NBA if you don't have a wing, a switchy 3-4. So they addressed that. So defense should be a little bit better.
I'm hoping so.
And then with a deeper roster, the guys shouldn't be gassed. We saw in the playoffs, guys were just gassed because they only were going like
6, 7 deep.
Winning Gabriel. Yeah. So, you only had like 5 or maybe 6 legitimate rotation players. So, I think depth should help out defensively, and then just having a good wing defender.
Well, like I said, I hope so. It's always better than when Portland is kind of giving the Lakers and Clippers and everybody in the Western Conference some noise. So it's always good to see them competitive. in the league. And I think there's going to be, a lot of points scored there in Portland. Do you think at some point in time they're going to have to move off the C.J. McCollum contract? Do you think they're going to have to move him? Maybe if it goes okay but doesn't go quite the way that they planned, do you see them moving off of him at the trade deadline?
Nope. What trade can they make for CJ that's going to make them better? Like what? I can't think of a possible scenario where it's going to make them better, because if you take CJ away, right, now who is your second option? So even if you get you trade him for two good defensive players, you still don't have a legitimate second option on the team that can create their own shot and get a basket.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm asking, because I hear CJ's name. You and I both hear CJ's name all the time when it comes to the rumors and things of that nature as far as being traded and whatnot. So that's the only reason why I'm saying. So
yeah, Portland doesn't have another guy that can create his own shot outside of Dame that can just get you a basket late in the shot clock. So no, I think trading CJ would be a mistake. I think it would be easier to find another defensive 3-4 that can, defend multiple positions than it would be to replace CJ.
Fair enough indeed. Once again, I'm speaking to Rafael Barlowe from NBA Draft Junkies. Got to check out all the great things that he's going to be doing for the upcoming 2021 draft at NBA Draft Junkies. Plus also his draft grades, which are there right now. Please check it out today, NBA Draft Junkies. So, my friend, we will, again, talk about the Lakers here in a few minutes, but when it comes to NBA free agency out there, let me know some of the teams that you've been watching that you said, you know what, those are some pretty nice moves, some winners. I'm going to tell you the first off, as far as players are concerned, the winners are anybody who can make a three-point shot, because shooters really won out with Joe Harris, Davis Bertans. Those guys got banked because they can hit the three-pointer. But are there any teams that really stick out to you as far as being a success this free agency season?
I mean, obviously the Lakers. Atlanta's the biggest winner in free agency. I mean, they've pretty much reshuffled their team around. Now they may have too much depth because all of their young guys, all their young wings push back. I read today that they're still going to start Collins at the 4 and they're going to bring Gallinari off the bench. So if they bring Gallinari off the bench, then that means either Capella or Kongwu is coming off the bench also. Then that means you got Reddish, Hunter, all of those guys. So I still think, and this is my opinion, I've mentioned it on Twitter, I think it's going to be similar to what the Lakers did with Anthony Davis. And I think it's going to be a similar trade with the Hawks and the Bucks for Giannis.
Ooh, very nice. Because we have not seen a Giannis signing to an extension as of yet, so he hasn't said yes. I know that's been the rumorville is going wild when it comes to Giannis and that whole him not signing as of yet as we get closer and closer to the start of training camp. So that becomes louder and louder and louder. People are talking about Dallas and Miami and all the other teams that are in play, possibly even the Lakers for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Atlanta, like you said, could be a key as well. John Collins, he's not been given an extension offer as of yet. So that's also something to bear in mind, because I know he's up for one this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's why I think it might be a possible move, because you can't really get a Giannis deal done unless Collins signs an extension. I think he would be a valuable piece in that trade.
There you go.
So I was thinking it could be some type of package of Reddish, Collins, and either Capella or Kongwu, one of those guys for Giannis. Because I don't know, did you hear the Woj pod, the Giannis story?
Not as of yet. I know I see it plastered. He's got it pinned on his Twitter page. I am going to take some time to check it out. I was basically going back and forth between all the different draft pods and then running to the free agency pods. But yeah, I got to read a little bit of the story on ESPN. Then I know he has the Woj pod that goes into detail on it.
Yeah, so without giving the whole story, Giannis thought he was going to the Hawks coming into the draft, and Atlanta traded up, and they were planning on taking him at number 16. And his agents had they had they didn't disclose his medical information or his records to a bunch of teams because they thought Atlanta was the fit. That was the first city that he flew into in the States, and he just knew that he was going to Atlanta, and Milwaukee came in and took him at 15. So even though the front office is different, like Danny Ferry's not there anymore, Bud is his coach in Milwaukee, I just still think it makes sense, because if he goes to Atlanta, he'll play with a much better team than what they can put together in Milwaukee. And I think with this Bucks team, the way it's constructed, they're kind of stuck as far as flexibility. And
so you think if he gets traded to Atlanta, I want to get this clear, you think him playing with Trae Young and some of the young stars that are there, although a lot of them would be traded back, let's say Milwaukee, is a better option for him playing right now with Middleton and Holiday?
Yeah, simply because I think you'd have Trae Young, who averaged 29 a game and who is a better distributor than Holiday. Holiday's a much better defender. Then you'd have Bogdanović, who they're close. So there are rumors that Bogdanović and Giannis want to play together. I don't think Atlanta goes after Bogdan without thinking that they can possibly make some type of move for Giannis, because Bogdan is redundant to the 3 wings that they've drafted in the last 2 years. And then Gallinari. I mean, does he really agree to come off the bench? That's just my opinion. Yeah. Like, does he really agree? Okay, I'm going to come off the bench in Atlanta.
Because I remember his words during, the season that he was going to go ahead and not take the money and go lean towards a contender. Yeah, a contender to win. And winning the 8th playoff seed, which Atlanta is now favored to do, or be right there on the cusp of it, is not exactly what I had in mind. He did take the money.
Yeah, so to me, something is cooking. And Giannis hasn't signed. I know they're saying that AD hasn't signed because he possibly is waiting on Giannis, but Giannis knows. I don't know. If you really want to sign and you're content, then you go. Milwaukee can't really make any more moves at this point. So what's the hold up? So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I thought it was very interesting when I listened to the Woj pod about, his draft process, that he thought he was going to be a Hawk and all of that. And so then you just start seeing all of this stuff go down. And Atlanta, they have assets now with the guys that they drafted. They should be able to return a lot for Reddish. Yeah. I even thought Boston would be a possible trade partner. But if you offer let's say you offer Reddish, Collins, and Capella, or Reddish, Collins, and Okongwu, a team would take that if they're going to lose a star.
Yeah. I know a lot of people would. I know a lot of teams would, that's for sure. Like you said, if they're going to lose their superstar, plus throw in a lot of draft picks. I think Atlanta still has a nice plethora of, or at least a nice cache of draft picks at this point in time. So that's something that they could go ahead and offer to the Bucks if it goes south between Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks.
This is Rafael from NBA Draft Junkies.com, and you are listening to the Lakers Fast Break.
Check out what's been going on with the Pop Culture Cosmos Show and the PCC Multiverse.
The better that these Marvel films do, the higher the standards are going to be for not just other films in general, but other Marvel films also.
I think it's really hard to end a show with this many fans in a satisfying way.
That's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show.
And the PCC Multiverse.
Playing worldwide on radio 7 days a week and wherever you get your podcasts. I want to ask you this before we hit the losers. The New York Knicks, it's always a source of fun and information out there, but I kind of like the fact that they didn't do anything truly outlandish like last year. I kind of like the fact that they're going to keep some money on the books. They'll take some bad trades, but they'll get a lot of assets and picks in return if you want to throw at them. So I'm thinking that was probably a good move right now for Leon Rose to, we're not going to overpay for a lot of free agents that will never work out.
Yeah, and I thought that, they didn't make a splash. I feel like they had a good summer in a sense, because next year is a strong draft. They got a coach that I think is going to make them better. Whether or not he's patient or not for the long haul, that's to be determined. but I think that they're in a range where they'll be bad, where they should have a lottery pick next year, and they'll have cap space. So, you got the 2 kids from Kentucky that are projected lottery picks. We already know there's a connection between Kentucky and the Knicks. And then I just saw Jalen Green sign with CAA. So, yeah. And I think they'll be bad enough to where even if you don't get the number 1 pick, I think this draft next year is good enough to where you get a top 5 guy, top 8 guy that they should be able to, you have a nice future to build around. So they would have Barrett, Toppin, Mitchell Robinson, and then I think they have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah,
I think they have the Mavs picks. So yeah, I thought they played it smart
on the Porzingis trade, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, and then Cade Cunningham, who we saw earlier today in play for his first game for Oklahoma State, looked pretty good. I mean, it's a freshman, first game. I'm not expecting the world. Didn't bust the world over against UT Arlington, but looked okay. They won. They didn't win big or anything like that, but he looked okay. Not too bad.
Yeah, I think he had 19. I know he had like 10 rebounds.
21 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, he was okay.
Yeah.
I like the way he pushed the ball up the floor. His head was up. He was going ahead and looking for long passes to go ahead and find teammates. I liked his unselfishness. Rebounding, he was there rebounding. He really looked physically and athletically better than anyone else on the floor. His shot looked okay. Something you can definitely work on, but I see some signs out there. I wish he would try a little bit harder on defense, but I see some signs. I see some definite signs.
Yeah, I think in college he's going to be a matchup nightmare because he can play 1 through 4. They showed him. He posted up a little bit. He's tough in transition. He's a special talent. He's a special talent. So for some reason, I think that the Thunder are going to be so bad. They're going to have so many ping pong balls where they're going to be able to keep him in state.
I have a feeling that might be the case as well, but it's just interesting to see. I know Cade Cunningham has not been the slam dunk number 1 for you like it has been with so many other individuals. In fact, ESPN was promoting him as such already. I think he's a potential number 1. I think he's very good, and I think it obviously sets a sign, but he has to keep developing, and we'll see. But very good start. You can't for a guy first freshman, first game in college. I'd say it was a pretty good start. So
yeah, he's my number 1. I think ESPN had Jalen Green as their number 1.
Oh, did I thought it was the other way? Okay, because now they're advertising on their YouTube page.
He went to school. Yeah, but they had all year they had Jalen Green as their number 1.
Okay, but they flip flop. Just ESPN now has him as. In fact, they were billing him today on their YouTube page. That's the number 1 in the NBA draft. But yeah, it's so funny how that works.
Well, they had him as their number 1 recruit.
Okay, the
number 1 recruit in the nation. But now I think they have Cade as the number 1 draft pick. So even I saw a graphic today where they had Cade listed as their number 2 recruit in the 2021 class, but they had him as their number 1 pick.
Anyways, there's still a lot of great talent there. So I mean, again, it's a good start. It's a good start. So we'll go ahead and see how it works out from there. But you're right. There's going to be a lot of draft assets for Oklahoma City. But it would be great to see him on the Knicks, possibly light that city up. But you're right. The odds are with the 5,000 draft picks Oklahoma City has over the next 5 years, seemingly, that they have the best shot of getting it. Either them or New Orleans.
Yeah, but I just wonder, like, as far as the Thunder, that franchise has been spoiled. From day one, Oklahoma City has had Kevin Durant, James Harden, Westbrook. Then when KD left, they still had Paul George, Melo. Last year they still had Chris Paul, but they won. So the fan base has been spoiled. Now I'm curious to see how they'll come out and support the team. If it were a normal situation, if we all could, go to games, but how much fan support that they would get without a surefire, like, marketable star. I think Gilgeous-Alexander's close to being that, but he's not a household name like that. And so, I just wonder how the franchise survives if they don't have that guy. Well, if you knew they're going to sell out every game.
Yeah. Well, if they get anywhere near relevance, as far as maybe even break 500 or get close to it, it's going to be because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's going to be because he's going to take the team on his back and he's going to carry it to a decent record if that's the case.
I think they would trade him if they got to that point. they don't want to win.
I know they don't want to win. I'm just saying that if they manage to go ahead and win during the season, get any type of decent record, obviously that's not the goal. They want to go ahead and do maybe a tanking that even Sam Hinkie would be proud of. But I guess at this point in time, if they're anywhere near close, it's going to be because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And if that's the case, that would be kind of detrimental to what they're trying to build in Oklahoma City. But, like I said, we'll see how that pans out. But Cade Cunningham was pretty good in his first time around.
Yeah, but as far as the Thunder, I think in order for them to get high lottery picks, I think they need their own picks to be bad because the Clippers aren't going to be bad anytime soon.
No.
So those picks are going to be late first round. And then I'm confused. They had so many deals.
16 or 17, I think.
16 or 17 in the next, 6 years. But I know, I felt like a lot of them, before this trade, this whole trading season, but I felt like a lot of them were coming from the Clippers, which are going to be low picks. So I felt like they need their own picks to be bad in order to, get in the high lottery range. But even then, I just wonder, all right, let's say they end up with a Cade Cunningham, and then the next year they end up with Imani Bates or Chet Holmgren. All right, so you end up with these guys. Is the owner going to pay the luxury tax if all these guys end up panning out at, when their contracts are back to back to back?
And we will see the same scenario again. It'll be deja vu.
Yeah.
It will be deja vu indeed, because you'll see the same thing all over again. So you're right. In that marketplace, they can only handle so much success. And then the owner will tell Sam Presti to go ahead and trade them away again, just like he did the first time around.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how these next few years, next 6 years play out for the Thunder. So only time will tell.
Only time will tell, indeed. But before we head on out, my friend, I do want to go ahead and touch on one last team as far as the winners. You mentioned the Lakers. With all their additions, obviously heading from Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, Marcus Gasol. There was a nice list. They re-signed KCP. A lot of good moves there. I'm not as sold as a lot of the analysts out there who are already giving away the championship to the Lakers. Just similar. It's actually kind of weird. It's like exactly 1 year ago they were giving everything away to the Clippers and remarking how wonderful it is. Now, 1 year later, they're remarking about the same thing. They're saying the same exact things about the Lakers that they are the Clippers, which for me is kind of makes me even more nervous. I think they're better as overall talent. I just still think there's some issues that concern. I think their defense on the defensive end, it might not have been as good. It might not be as good defensively. I think offensively, especially coming off the bench, it's a lot better. But I want to hear your thoughts on what the Lakers did this season before we get to the losers of free agency.
Yeah, man, it was shocking to see Montrezl Harrell. For the life of me, do not understand why Montrezl Harrell would take that deal.
I thought Ibaka would be a better fit there, personally.
Yeah, I think Ibaka's definitely a better fit, but the connection that runs the Lakers is the reason, because it's crazy, because I know his value dropped. I know his stock plummeted during the bubble, but I thought he was at least going to get $320 or something like that, at least $20 million a year. He didn't even get that over 2 years. And for him to sign a low deal like that so fast is really strange to me. I could see if the money dried up, like in the case of a Tristan Thompson or something like that, where there wasn't a lot of money left and he had to settle for
the Celtics,
for $219, but he signed for $219 fast. I'm just like, dang, did Rich Paul say, hey, it's better to be a Laker with $19 million than a Clipper for $50 or $60? I don't know what he did to convince him to take that deal, but to me, it just makes absolutely zero sense, because Harrell, it's not like he's coming off a max deal and he's looking to win a championship. I think the most he's ever made before this season was $6 million.
Well, he's only going to keep it for the 1 year, because you and I both know he's going to opt out after because he's got that opt out option next year.
Yeah, but to me, it still doesn't make sense. Like, I don't think Rich Paul would have him sign this type of contract if it wasn't the Lakers.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the KCP deal, he turned down $580 with the Pistons to go to the Lakers. And after 5 years with the Lakers, he'd have only made $68. So he's lost $12 million. People say, oh, well, LA, being a championship. I don't think KCP has made up $12 million in off the court endorsements deals. And so when an agent anonymously came out a few weeks ago and was saying that Rich Paul has cost his clients a lot of money, everybody sees the big deals, which, I think there is some jealousy there in that comment, but this kind of proves his point in a sense that it seems like there's these guys that are his starters, that he takes care of that come around LeBron, like Tristan was one. Because I think he turned down like $57 million, then ended up getting 80. A lot of people felt like JR got overpaid and his contract that he's just finishing with Cleveland. Even though KCP's deal was high to some, I feel like it was really fair value because he shot 38% from three. So I don't think there was a lot of home cooking there. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like because it was the Lakers and because he kind of benefits in a sense with the Lakers winning, there's no way you would have told me that Jordan Clarkson would get like $30 million more than Montrezl Harrell. Or Montrezl Harrell's contract would be around the same ballpark, give or take $1 million or so, as Mason Plumlee.
That was crazy. Or yeah. Bertans, $80 million. 5 years, $80 million.
Yeah. Or the biggest one
Joe
is the Morris one.
Yeah, the Morris 4 for 64.
Yeah. Is there a $62 million difference between them?
That's crazy. One takes $1 million, one takes 64. So that's crazy. So, you know what? It is what it is, my friend. But you're right. I'm very, very curious to see how this plays out. But I'm a little concerned about the defense, that they're not going to be able to play that same level of defense that got them the championship. I understand that they've now got an offensive punch coming off the bench that they didn't have before, and then some. But I'm still concerned about the defense going forward because, again, like I said, it's something that the Lakers. I think that was the third man. To me, that was the third man, was their defense and the way they came together as a team. So I'm concerned about that going forward. Do I have a right to be concerned? Because that's just from what I'm seeing.
As long as you got Anthony Davis and LeBron James, if you beat your man off the dribble, those guys are waiting for you at the rim to have a block party above the square.
Is it going to be as much of a block party because you don't have McGee and Howard there, but they're still, like you said,
they didn't play in the playoffs. So I mean, during the regular season, yeah, maybe the defense is going to slip a little bit, but in the playoffs, like how much of an impact did McGee have?
And you have Gasol still there to give you 5 fouls against Jokic or any type of big man. Let's say Embiid in Philadelphia, they piece everything together with all their acquisitions, and maybe they go far. But I'm just saying if Gasol can give you anything, it's going to work out. If Wesley Matthews can still give you something in the tank, that's going to work out. Schroeder, I really like. I like that move above any of the others. I think that's really going to be something that I know a lot of people say Rondo's gone is really going to hurt the team and his leadership. It will, but I think Schroeder and his attitude will pick up some of that slack at least.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the key is you added 2 younger guys that are on paper, they were a lot better, but you just kind of wonder about the chemistry.
Yeah.
With because if I remember correctly, Schroeder said he didn't want to be in LA. Did you see that quote?
No, I didn't see that quote.
Yeah, he made a comment that he told his agent, I don't want to be a Laker or a Clipper. I'm not interested in either of those teams.
Here we go.
But then I saw it on like social media, and with social media, sometimes pictures and words
they're a little bit different.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Dennis he's a very, very confident guy. And I know he rubs some people the wrong way because he's very confident, borderline arrogant. And I think it's what makes him so good. But it also, he's in a situation now where he's expected to win. Like, he's been on winning teams. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he's put up numbers on these bad teams. But in LA, you with this team, you can't be concerned about you getting your 18 or 19 a night.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I was like, during the season, you might see their defense slip a little bit, and that's something that I think is going to be expected because Harrell and I don't know, Schroeder, depends on who you talk to, not that great or is great defensively. I mean, this is where Laker Tom pulls out his analytics that are. I call it his jaded analytics because they always seem to slide towards one way or the other. He'll be talking great about Ibaka for 2 straight weeks about how he should be on the Lakers. Then as soon as he's not on the Lakers, he'll throw out the statistics for Gasol. and he'll send it to me on a message in Twitter. So it's funny how that works out. But yeah, what can I say?
But yeah, I think the Lakers defense is going to slip regardless because just in the season, I mean, they're coming off a long postseason run and a short break.
LeBron and AD are going to rest a little bit more.
Yeah, so I don't. Which kind of, having Harrell there, I think that him and Schroeder are going to be like Lou Will and Harrell last year. They're going to probably carry a lot of the offensive load during the season because, I mean, I just think LeBron is going to take some games off or he's just going to coast, and then you see him turn it up late. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to get by the Lakers. It's tough to say that another team had a better offseason. I mean, Atlanta,
I agree.
Yeah, because they, came from nothing, like one of the worst records, to having expectations, but nobody expected the Lakers to retool the way they did.
No, and I think they did a great job. And kudos to Rob on that. Like I said, the one tweak I would make is I would have brought, Ibaka over here. Instead of, Harrell, because I think defensively in the playoffs, I think it's the better fit. I'm not talking during the season. During the season, I think Harrell's going to get you more. But I think in the defensive side of the ball during a playoff series, I think Ibaka would have been a better choice for me either. I think he's just a better fit when you have those type of matchups in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I really want to see how it plays out because on one hand, I could see how Trez has a big role during the regular season and it diminishes during the playoffs because we know in money time, AD is going to play the 5 and they're likely going to have Morris or Kuzma out there.
That was a good signing, re-signing him. Yes.
Right.
For $63 million less.
Yeah, they got him for pennies. But with Trez being a Clutch client and signing such a short deal where he gave them a discount, I wonder how much of a role does that play because you don't want to mess up his money after he gave you a wink deal and he had a big load in the regular season and then all of a sudden during the playoffs you can't really do him like you did JaVale where he starts and then in the playoffs, I mean, his role won't be exactly like JaVale's, but if he's playing 28 minutes a game during the regular season and then you cut him down to 15 during the playoffs when he's looking for a contract after he gave you a discount, that's where I think chemistry could be a little bit of an issue. But if you got LeBron on the team, then at least you have that leader that can fix that. So I'm just ready to get this season started and more so for like the playoffs, just kind of see how these teams that have a lot of depth right now, how their rotations are going to be. Because right now it seems like there's a few teams that their rotations are, it's going to be hard to figure them out because they have so many guys that are very similar.
We're signaling the ref for a quick timeout, but we'll be back with more of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Needing an edge for your fantasy football team? Listen to the guys at Inside Sports Fantasy Football for insight that will help you reach your league championship. That's Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Check it out today on your favorite podcast outlet. Any quick thoughts on some losers for this NBA free agency season?
Yeah, I thought Denver got weaker. But as far as like another team I wanted to mention, I thought Dallas had a very, very strong offseason. I thought they had a good draft. They had 3 guys that I thought were first rounders. They got them with 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 their picks. And then they added toughness. They added size.
Josh Richardson in that trade.
Like wing size. They added another wing defender. And then they were able to save money for next year. So if you think about it, they gave up. Only players they gave up was really like Seth Curry out of their rotation players. And they got Tyrell Terry. You got Josh Green. You got Tyler Bay, Josh Richardson, and James Johnson. And they only lost one rotation player. So I like the moves that Dallas made. As far as losers, I think Denver is the biggest loser. They lost Grant,
yes,
who made a lot of money for himself in the bubble. They lost somebody else too.
Torrey Craig. So
they lost two of their stronger defenders. Millsap is a year older. They added another guard, Campuzzo, from the Argentinian from Real Madrid. He is going to be fun to watch. Him and Jokic together, you're going to see a lot of give and go, highlight, no look, crazy passes. So I thought that was a good pickup. Even though I didn't necessarily think that they needed another guard, I thought Monte Morris was good there. So I wonder, is there another move that's going to be made? Which another theory, and it's not like I made it up, but for whatever reasons, the moves that the Pistons made seem like they were done with thinking, another move to be made. I thought somehow a Blake Griffin trade is going to be in the works, but I guess it might be too late for that if they've had the conference. But I don't know what Detroit is doing either. So to me, they were a loser also because they signed like all guys that play the same position, a bunch of centers and a bunch of hybrid 3-4s. Yeah, I didn't like Detroit's moves at all.
You don't know what they're doing. It's like circa New York Knicks 2019.
Yeah, Plumlee, they drafted Isaiah Stewart. They signed Okafor. Grant plays the same position as that hybrid 3-4 position as Sekou Doumbouya. Same as Sadiq Bey, who they drafted. They signed Josh Jackson. Yeah, I just don't know what they're doing. I think gambling on Josh Jackson, I'm sure that was very low risk.
And then
signing.
They took on Dwayne Dedmon's contract, but they waived him. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep, they waived him.
So he's out there. I suggested him for the Lakers. That's just my thought.
Oh, I'm sure Dwayne would love that. He lives in L.A. Yeah, I spent the week with him a couple weeks ago. But yeah, he lives in L.A., so I'm sure he would like to stay home. I think the best fit for him that makes the most sense is New Orleans. I'm not sure about the Zion and Steven Adams. Yeah. They're going to be good for JJ.
And they gave him an extension too.
Yeah,
with a trade kicker.
Oh
my gosh! Without even seeing them together, they already did an extension. And if Dwayne Dedmon can give you what he did give you 2 years ago, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I just think Zion needs to be paired with a floor spacer.
Yeah,
a guy that can knock down open shots and let Zion operate in the paint. I just want to see how Zion. I didn't think Zion and Favors looked too good together sharing the court as far as from a spacing perspective.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have added a shooter, but it probably helps JJ Redick because, you get screened by Zion on one end, and then the next play, you get screened by Steven Adams. He should get a lot of open looks.
Should if he's not traded first. So we'll see if that's the case because he could be traded for some assets too as well because he's still a valued, individual that's admired by a lot of people in the league. So we'll see if he sticks before the trade deadline and whatnot. But my friend, it's been a great conversation. But before we head on out and before we give you the great pitch on why people need to check out NBA Draft Junkies. Were any of the big recent contract extensions, were they all justified? We had quite a few with Jason Tatum in Boston. We had De'Aaron Fox. We had Bam Adebayo. We had Brandon Ingram. I already talked about my kind of questioning the Steven Adams extension. That was kind of weird and out of place, and I thought they should just go ahead and see how it works with Zion first before they did that. But you see any extensions that were justified? Did you see them all as being justified?
Yeah, I didn't see any that were Did you mention Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell, yeah, obviously, yeah, he was there 5 years, 195, yeah, as well.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, the big one is Collins. That's the one that we'll see. One, if it happens this summer, and two, like, what money does he get? Because I read that he wants a max, but he's not on their level as far as like, as far as like his production. And then also he missed 25 games. So it's kind of hard to reward him after that. But yeah, to me, that was the big one. But like Lonzo, if he gets extended, those are the two ones and Markkanen. Those are ones I'm looking forward to. Because I figured the guys that you mentioned, it was a no-brainer that they were all going to get a max deal. But it's the other ones that you just wonder what they get.
Funny how that's going to play out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing John Wall. What about John Wall wanting to leave? I mean, gets the Achilles injury, gets another injury on top of that. The team helps him rehabilitate the injury, and to just show his appreciation for the actual team that helped him get to that process and get him back on the court once again, he now wants a trade. Interesting.
Yeah, good luck. Isn't it like $138 million left on this contract or something like that?
4 years left. 4 years left, I think, on it. Yeah, about $40 million a year, considered by many to be the NBA's worst contract. So it's a big deal. I mean,
and he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yep. And that's why they haven't done the Westbrook for Wall trade, because Westbrook actually has less years than Wall. So,
and it doesn't make sense either way. So, no, I think John Wall is stuck there.
Stuck there for
unless New York takes him, but I don't even know if that makes any sense. So, yeah, John Wall is stuck there.
I think so as well. But before we head on out, my friend, you got to give the hard sell. It's that time. Tell everybody why everybody needs to check out the NBA Draft Junkies.
I mean, I'm biased. I think it's a good site. I think that
you should be.
I put in a lot of work, so the content is going to be consistent. I think since November, as of yesterday, I put out like 9 videos in the last like 14 days or something like that. I'm ready to get 21 started. So I have 2 more videos or 3 for the divisions in the Western Conference. I'll do those. I have a couple players that I already have in mind. I start off with some returning players for the 2021 draft. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to put out content consistently. One thing you won't see from me is like a mock. I won't do a mock until January. I'm not a real big fan of coming out with the mock drafts when I haven't seen a kid play a college game yet. So, because, I mean, you think about last year, Nico Mannion was a projected lottery pick. So was Cole Anthony. So was Isaiah Stewart. Tyrell Terry wasn't on anybody's draft boards. Neither was Okongwu.
Jaden McDaniels.
Jaden McDaniels, exactly. So, I won't do a mock until at least January. But hopefully we have enough games by then because, today's the first day. I think it might be the first official day, or the first big day of college basketball season, and we've already seen quite a few games canceled. So, and then, with this Thanksgiving holiday, I think it's going to be a super spreader. So hopefully the season can go on and, it doesn't get canceled again. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as NBA Draft Junkies, the content is just going to be consistent. I put out a lot of videos and also doing somewhat of a rebrand as far as like the logo and just kind of the overall design of the site and the video. So I've been working on that the last couple of days. So I'm looking forward to getting that started.
And once again, you can head on over to NBA Draft Junkies on YouTube, where there's over 13,000 subscribers who are already enjoying it. And then you've got NBADraftJunkies.com, and of course his podcast, NBA Draft Junkies, which you can also catch on Dash Radio, and of course Run the Floor podcast. Yes.
Yeah, that will be back. It'll be more general basketball topics. But yeah, I'm on Dash Radio every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, and 8 a.m. Pacific. So it's every Monday at 8 a.m. your time, 10 a.m. my time.
That's good. I can't wait. Like I said, it's such a great time for you to go ahead and seeing all of what you do as far as NBA Draft Junkies. You got so much, again, on the plate. I've never known you otherwise to not have so much on your plate, but I wish you continued success, my friend. I know you're heading back here soon. I know I've got the Lakerholics on tap. I wanted to save you from them. We're going to go ahead and discuss more free agency because I know I'm going to hear more from Laker Tom on that coming up here in a few. But I wanted to wish you and your entire family a truly blessed and happy Thanksgiving, my friend, since this is going to post tonight. And I wish you a safe and happy holiday season. And I will be getting with you soon before the season starts. I want to hear more of your thoughts. We're going to go into deep, I would like to invite you back to, as always, we're going to go into the hardcore as far as before the season starts coming up here next month and talk into depth on some of the teams in the Eastern and Western Conference and really get a lowdown on who might have the advantage next season if you want to come back.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Well, there it is again. He's coming back. I got a guarantee. Sweet. Right there for you. Well, he's probably rolling his eyes as we speak. But it is my good friend indeed. It is Rafael Barlowe. You want to check out everything that he's doing today at NBA Draft Junkies. Well, my friend, it's been great talking to you once again. I look forward to our conversations here in just a short amount of time where we'll be going ahead and previewing the NBA season. I look forward to that and so much more right here with you at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.